All right. Time for our viewer outreach segment. Should payroll taxes be cut in order to create jobs? Here's what former GE chief Jack Welch said on Squawk Box yesterday.
I think raising taxes is the dumbest idea in the world right now. I think, for example, we have to do all kinds of things to reduce payroll taxes, for example. If you look at payroll taxes, they're not just payroll taxes, they're workman's comp. There's every element of Social Security payments, and they all have at least 4 to 5 elements beyond the payroll tax that add on to this thing. Don't make it hard to create jobs.
Seems obvious enough. Here's what you said. Scott from New Jersey said we should cut payroll taxes to solve our employment growth and deficit problems. But Mark says before we cut payroll taxes, I think we should cut the ridiculous levels of CEO compensation. Oh, there you go. There's something to that. Joining us now, Chris Metzler, Associate Dean of Continuing Studies at Georgetown University, Mark Levine, Democratic Policy Analyst. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us. Chris, what do you think?
Well, first of all, happy post-shellacking Friday.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a T-shirt that says that. Yes.
So I definitely think that, in fact, we should cut payroll taxes, but I think that payroll tax cut has to be permanent, and it has to be coupled with, guess what, austerity in government to pay for the permanent
Not
cuts.
mañana.
Today.
Today, right now, as we speak, in Larry's lifetime, cut spending.
Mark Levine, you know, I think my good friend Jack Welch is wrong here. I think cutting payroll taxes would bankrupt entitlements even more. I want to ask you, why not cut business taxes, and in particular, why not a tax holiday to repatriate $1 trillion of foreign offshore earnings that would come into this country and boom investment and boom job creation? Mark Levine, you're pro-business, aren't you, my friend?
I am pro-business. In fact, I think it's amazing that Chris and I agree on something. This may be a first time ever on your show. I do support a payroll tax holiday. I don't think, though, it should be permanent because I think that we got to pay back the deficit at some point. And I, like most Democrats, am a fiscal conservative. I believe that you only cut taxes in bad times. You don't do it all the time the way Republicans want. But to answer your question, Larry, I think we need to punish companies who take jobs overseas.
Yeah.
We have to raise taxes on if they take jobs overseas. If they want to bring it back to this country, I agree there should be tax incentives.
Hey, but Chris, you know, if we grow the overall economy, we therefore grow government revenue because people and corporations are paying more money in taxes. Therefore, isn't this a win-win? Why would we just say, okay, we're going to do some kind of tax holiday and it's just going to be a holiday? Why not make it permanent and really result in some massive increases in our actual government
Chris
revenue?
is going to levitate off the ground there.
I'm just laying it up for you.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we've got to do it. Here's the problem. The problem is when we give the government more money, guess what? They spend it. So that's essentially the problem. I think what we have to do is make sure that it's permanent, but in order to, it has to be coupled with austerity. It has to be government austerity. It has to also be coupled with a penchant to stop spending. I don't see what's so difficult about the stop spending stuff.
Again,
Because it never happens. Mark, go ahead. You're going to tell us.
But Mark, let me just ask you this, Mark. Look, I don't agree with Jack Welch, and I want you to tell me, if you're going to, look, entitlements are bankrupt. If you cut payroll taxes, you don't get a big incentive effect, and you're going to put them into deeper bankruptcy. So will you, Mark Levine, will you be willing to cut Social Security and health care benefits to finance the payroll tax cuts? That is my question.
Excellent.
You know my answer to that, Larry. Absolutely not. Look,
Right.
for decades, the Republicans have been raiding the Social Security Trust Fund and using it for wars and other programs. Bill Clinton, though, took money from other programs and put it back into Social Security. That's what we need to do, and that way entitlements will be fine. And to respond to Chris, I would
Or you
like
could
a
privatize
dime.
it. I mean, I'll just throw it out there, Mark. You could privatize Social Security, and that way the government can't get their hands on it at all.
Everybody loses out. We put all our money in Enron, and then we got to pay for these people who would otherwise die in the streets. I do want to respond, though, to Chris, because if I had a dime for every time a Republican like Chris said they wanted to cut spending, and I had $1 for every time they mentioned exactly what they wanted to cut, if I lost $1, I'd make a fortune.
Chris, get him.
Okay, so here's what I want to cut.
What would you cut?
Entitlements.
Specifics.
Cut entitlements.
Cut Social Security.
Entitlements.
Cut Social Security.
Cut
Medicare.
Social Security. Cut Medicare. Privatize.
Take those people that put all that money in their pensions and just say, you're out of luck.
I didn't say that they're out of luck, but look,
They are.
privatize it. Privatize.
If you
Here we go.
privatize
What
it
about
and the market
private
goes
sector?
down, then everybody loses out, don't they?
What about raising the retirement age?
Yeah, hey, I don't mind having
That's a cut, right?
Yeah,
What
I don't
about-
mind having an 85-year-old bus driver.
What is
no
wrong
problem.
with both of you? What if the easiest thing to do here for the government to make money and reduce the deficit is have a tax holiday, 5% tax rate, Chris Metzler, on the overseas earnings of American corporations so they're not double taxed? Do you know $1 trillion would come into the states? That means we would raise $50 billion to lower the deficit, and we'd probably create 3-4 million jobs. What's wrong with you guys today? You're sitting around cutting Social Security benefits? Are you out of your minds?
Chris, what
Are you
is-
out of
what
your
is
mind?
wrong with you
That is
today? Let me ask you.
That is self-immolation.
Go ahead, Chris.
Okay. I've now taken a shellacking from Larry.
I mean, what's up with this?
Let him answer. Come on.
I've taken a shellacking from Larry. I think Larry actually makes sense on this one. So let me walk back from my statement, just kind of like the president has walked back from the car in the ditch.
Exactly. You can't say what you'd cut now.
No, I agree with Larry. That's what I'm saying. So let's look at this holiday issue.
Right.
Let's look at bringing all the money in. Larry, I agree with you. Mea culpa.
Larry,
Shellacking
here's
for
the
me.
problem
Mark, go
with
ahead.
your idea. Real quick, ExxonMobil paid $15 billion in taxes last year on $35 billion in profits. How much went to the United States? Zero.
Yep.
Goose egg. They're not paying any taxes to the United States, and we have corporations paying their money to France. And I know you don't like France. They need to pay them to us.
Actually untrue, Mark, my friend. Look, ExxonMobil, all these firms. Look, you read these op-eds by John Chambers and Paul Ottolini. They're all saying the same thing. They don't want to be double taxed on the overseas earnings. So provide an incentive to bring those earnings back home, and you'll cut the budget deficit, and you'll create a couple million jobs. You guys think you're going to cut back on Social Security benefits? I'm here to tell
Not
you
me.
you're nuts. You're absolutely nuts. It isn't going to happen. It isn't going to happen in my lifetime. You might slow
I mean,
them down, but you'll
if
never
you
cut
say
them.
no to this plan, it almost seems like you're cutting off your nose to spite your face there. You're so angry at big business that you say, I don't want them getting that money back here
Right.
on
We gotta
our
go.
shores.
Chris and Mark, thanks to both of you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Payroll tax cuts, the most overrated policy. Most overrated policy.
Wow, Larry doesn't like a tax cut. I'm not going to be able to
Some are
maintain
better
the
than
show.
others, I'm telling you.
When we come back, a strong quarter for video game maker Activision